This picture. This is the last time I heard from my brother, David. He sent me this goofy selfie with his son, my nephew Leo, on July 12, 2015. He was in a bitter custody battle and terrified of losing Leo. A week later, they were both gone. His ex-wife swore he'd kidnapped his own son, but I defended him. I told the police she was lying, that she'd probably taken Leo and was framing David. For 8 years, I've been searching for him. Until I found this. If you've ever been completely, 100% certain of something, only to find out your entire life was built on a lie, maybe you'll understand a fraction of what I'm going through. Please leave a comment if you've ever had to face a truth that changed everything. My name is Mark. For 2,920 days, I have been the loyal brother, the only one who believed in David. When my brother and my 6-year-old nephew Leo vanished, our family broke in two. On one side, there was me. On the other was David's ex-wife, Rachel. From day one, Rachel told the police, "He took him. David stole my son." And I was right there, in that same police station, telling them, "She's lying. Look at her. She's cold. She's vindictive. She hated David, and she's framed him for this. He's the victim. He and Leo are the victims." The police, they saw what I saw, a bitter divorce, a messy custody fight. They saw a hysterical woman, Rachel, and a grieving, logical brother, me. They didn't have enough to arrest her, but they didn't have anything to arrest him for either. It became a cold case. A parental kidnapping where the prime suspect, David, was also listed as a missing person. My loyalty to David became my life's work. I emptied my savings. I started a website, Help Find David and Leo. I printed 10,000 posters with that goofy selfie on them. I stood on street corners. I did interviews with local news, my voice shaking with righteous anger as I described Rachel, as I painted the picture of a woman capable of anything. That loyalty cost me. It cost me my job because I couldn't focus. I was always checking email, following up on bogus tips from psychics. It cost me my friends because I couldn't talk about anything else. And 4 years in, it cost me my marriage. My wife, Elizabeth, sat across from me at our own kitchen table, her eyes red. "Mark," she said, her voice quiet, "I can't do this anymore. You're not here. You're chasing a ghost. And you're so blinded by your love for David that you can't see the damage you're doing. You can't see the hate you're putting out into the world." "He's my brother," I yelled. "She took his son." "Did she?" Elizabeth asked. "Or did he just run? You've never, not once, considered that David, your perfect, charming brother, might have just been a bad guy." I told her to get out. She did. For the last 4 years, I've been alone. Just me and my mission. Me and the truth. Then, last month, the truth. And I finally met. The bank had foreclosed on the last piece of our family's land. A 50-acre plot of dense woods up near the Canadian border that our grandfather had left us. It was where David and I learned to hike, to build forts, to be brothers. I hadn't been there in over a decade. The bank sent me a final notice to vacate for any personal property. I figured I'd go one last time. Say goodbye. It was a cold, gray afternoon. The air smelled like wet leaves and decay. I parked my truck on the logging road and just walked. I walked for hours. I was remembering David as a kid, how he'd always cheat at capture the flag, how he'd convince me to do the dangerous stuff, and how, if I got hurt, he'd be the first one to patch me up, telling me, "We're a team, Mark. Miller Brothers against the world." I was so lost in memory, I missed the turn for the old hunting trail. I ended up in a gully, following a creek bed that had run dry. The thorns were thick, pulling at my jacket. I was about to turn back when I smelled it. It wasn't just rot. It was human, stale, like an unwashed for months sleeping bag, and rust. I pushed through a wall of vines and stopped. It wasn't a fort. It was a box. A three-walled shack, built crude and fast out of stolen plywood, its back against a rock face. It was hidden, intentionally. You would never find it unless you were completely lost. My heart was hammering. I thought, maybe he was here. Maybe this is where Rachel... I stepped inside. It was dark. The smell was overpowering. My phone's flashlight beam hit the floor, and I saw them. Bolted into the plywood floor, thick with rust, was a set of manacles. Heavy, real, attached to a 6-foot chain. I felt the air leave my lungs. I backed up, my hand over my mouth. This was a prison. And then my light found the other corner. A small, rotted-out sleeping bag, child-sized, blue with faded cartoon rocket ships on it. Beside it, a pile of small, rusted cans, SpaghettiOs, Chef Boyardee, and a large, cracked plastic water jug crawling with insects. I stood there, my mind trying to make the pieces fit. Rachel. She brought them here. She chained David up. And Leo. But why? Why this land? Our land. Rachel had never even been here. She was terrified of the woods. Only 2 people on Earth knew this property. Me and David. A memory, sharp and cold, hit me. David, in my garage, 2 weeks before he vanished. He was using my circular saw. "What are you building, man?" I'd asked. He'd smiled, that charming, easy smile. "Just a deer blind for the old property. Thought I'd try and hunt this fall." I hadn't thought twice about it. I was staring at the deer blind. I sank to my knees. The wet mulch soaked through my jeans. I was looking at a prison David built. I was looking at a child's sleeping bag, Leo's, and I was looking at manacles. He was in a bitter custody battle and terrified of losing Leo. Oh God, the manacles. They weren't for David. He wasn't the prisoner. He was the jailer. I threw up in the leaves. I don't remember much of the 911 call. I just remember my voice, high-pitched, unrecognizable, telling the operator, "I found it. I found where he kept him." The drive to the sheriff's station was a blur. I was met by a Sheriff Thomas and a Detective Maria Sanchez. They were new. They didn't know the case. They just saw a frantic, rambling man. "Mr. Miller," Detective Sanchez said, her voice calm but firm. "You've spent 8 years accusing Rachel Moore of this. Now you're saying your brother built this place? You don't understand." I was pacing. I defended him. I told everyone. I have to. I stopped. There was only one thing to do. One person I had to see. I had their address. Of course I did. I had spent 8 years staring at Rachel's house from my car, convincing myself she was a monster. I drove there. It was dark now. I walked up the path and knocked. The door opened. Rachel looked old. She was my age, 45, but she looked 60. Her hair was gray. The anger I'd always seen in her eyes was gone. It had been replaced by something worse. A permanent, hollow emptiness. She recognized me. Her hand went to the doorframe. "Get off my property, Mark," she whispered. "Rachel, wait." My voice cracked. "Please, I was wrong." That made her pause. I was wrong, I said again. And this time the dam broke. I started to sob, right there on her welcome mat. I was wrong. About everything. I'm so sorry. I found where he took him. She stared at me, her face unreadable. Then she stepped back and opened the door. Her house was quiet. Too quiet. The walls were covered in pictures. Not of David, just Leo. Leo as a baby. Leo on his first day of kindergarten. And one large, framed photo from his 6th birthday, right before. It was a shrine. "What did you find?" she asked. She didn't offer me a seat. I told her. About the old property, the shack, the child's sleeping bag, and the manacles. When I said the word manacles, she flinched, a sharp intake of breath, the first emotion I'd seen. She sat down heavily on the sofa. "He said he would," she whispered. "What?" "In the final hearing," she said, looking at a spot on the wall. "The judge had just granted me full custody. David." He smiled. He stood up, and as he walked past me, he leaned in and whispered, "If I can't have him, no one will. I'll chain him to a tree before I let you have him." My blood ran cold. "You told the police this?" "I told everyone," she said, her voice rising. "I told the police. I told the custody evaluator. I told your parents. And I told you, Mark. Do you remember what you said to me? In the courthouse parking lot?" I did. I remembered it like a brand. I'd pointed my finger in her face. "You poisoned him against his father," I'd spat. "You're a liar, Rachel, and I'll spend the rest of my life proving it." I put my head in my hands. "Oh God, Rachel, I was his accomplice." "Yes, you were," she said, matter of fact. "You were his character witness. You were the good brother who swore David was a loving, stable father. You're the reason the police looked at me instead of him." She was right. Every word was a hammer blow. "The police. They're at the shack now," I managed to say. They're treating it as a crime scene. But Rachel, they're not here. They're gone. The shack is empty. It's been empty for years." Rachel looked at me, and that hollow expression was replaced by a flicker of something, not hope. It was too wounded for hope. It was resolve. "Then we find out where they went," she said. For the next 3 days, Rachel and I worked. We were a broken, awkward team, bound by guilt and a single desperate goal. The police were doing their part, dusting the shack for prints, finding nothing but David's. They confirmed the sleeping bag was Leo's. They were treating it as a kidnapping, with David as the sole suspect. But they were moving slow. They were cops. We were the only 2 people who knew David. We met at my house, which was still a monument to my flawed crusade. The missing posters were still thumbtacked to the walls. Rachel stared at them. "You can take those down now," she said quietly. I tore them off the wall one by one. It felt like peeling off my own skin. "Okay," I said, my voice hoarse. "My wife, Elizabeth. She always said David was a snake, a smart one. He wouldn't just run. He would have planned. He had to have money." "He was broke," Rachel said. "I know he was. His landscaping business was failing. He owed me 3 months of child support." "No," I said, thinking. He had to have cash. He must have." I went to my garage, to a metal filing cabinet I hadn't opened in years. It was full of my old files, but in the back, a single box labeled David. It was stuff from his apartment I'd saved after he vanished. Stuff I'd planned to give him when he came home. We dumped it on the floor. Old clothes, a high school yearbook, and a stack of bank statements. We sat on the floor, side by side, sorting through them. May 2015, June 2015, I murmured. Then I saw it. Rachel, look. July 9th, 2015, 3 days before the selfie, a single, massive cash withdrawal. $50,000, Rachel read, her hand shaking. Where did he get that? I asked. Rachel's eyes went wide. My God, your mother, before she died. She left you both an inheritance, $100,000 each. I thought he'd spent it all on his business. He told me he did, I said. He lied. He was saving it. He was building a nest egg. So he had cash, 50 grand, and he had a plan, the shack. But the shack wasn't the plan, Rachel said, thinking aloud. It was a stop, a transition. It's too small. You couldn't survive a winter there. He needed to deprogram him, I said, the words tasting like poison. He needed to take Leo somewhere, scare him, chain him up, and tell him lies about you. Tell him you were the monster. Tell him you were the one he was hiding from. Rachel let out a small, wounded sound. Okay, so the shack was step 1, I said, forcing myself to be logical. Step 2 was somewhere else, somewhere permanent. Where would he go? We tore through the box. Under the bank statements was an old, greasy mechanic's logbook from his failed business. Tucked inside, a folded gas station map of the United States. We spread it on the floor. It was marked, not with a route, but with circles. Small towns, remote, all of them near the Canadian border. Plattsburgh, New York, Swanton, Vermont, Holton, Maine. He was running for the border, Rachel said. But he didn't cross, I said, a new memory surfacing. Don't you remember? The police put his and Leo's names on the border watch list. They never crossed, at least not legally. He wouldn't risk it, Rachel said. David hated uncertainty. He'd hide in plain sight, somewhere remote. Plattsburgh, I said, pointing at the New York town. It's the biggest circle, and it's right near that patch of land. He could have used the shack, then driven there. Driven what? Rachel asked. His truck was found at the trailhead, remember? That's why the police thought he'd gotten lost hiking. Another lie, I said, my stomach churning. He left it as a decoy. He must have had another car, a ghost car, something unregistered. I looked at Rachel. Did he buy any weird cars before he left? I don't know, She paused. Yes, he did. A month before the hearing, an old green sedan. A Toyota, I think. He told me he was going to fix it up and sell it. I saw it parked behind his apartment. I'd forgotten all about it. We had it. A plan, a destination, and a vehicle. We went to Detective Sanchez. This time she listened. She saw the withdrawal. She heard Rachel's story about the car. It was enough. She put out an APB on a 1998 green Toyota Camry, VIN unknown, linked to David Miller. She contacted the New York State Police in Plattsburgh. And then we waited. For 2 weeks, the silence was deafening. I stayed at my house. Rachel stayed at hers. We'd text. Anything? No. You? No. I felt, I don't know, like a man who had woken up from a coma. The world I knew was gone, replaced by this stark, horrible reality. I called my ex-wife, Elizabeth. She picked up on the 4th ring. Mark? Liz, I just needed to hear your voice, I stammered. I have to tell you, you were right. You were right about David. You were right about everything. I told her about the shack, the manacles, the bank account. She was silent for a long time. "Oh, Mark," she finally said. She wasn't gloating. She just sounded profoundly sad. "What are you going to do?" "I'm going to find him," I said. "I have to." "Be careful," she said. "He's not your brother anymore. He hasn't been for a long time." The call came 2 days later. Detective Sanchez. "Mark, we found the car." My knees buckled. "It was in Plattsburgh, New York," she said. "Tarped behind a derelict diner. The owner, an old man named Arthur, said a guy paid him cash to park it there. Said he'd be back. That was 8 years ago. Mark, the car's been wiped. No prints. Nothing inside. It's a dead end." "No," I said, my mind racing. "No, it's not. He wouldn't leave a car and just walk into town. He had to have a place, a rental, something. We're checking local rentals, but he wouldn't use his real name," I said. He's not stupid." I was pacing, my heart pounding. The car, the shack, the cash. He had a digital life. He must have. An email. I hung up and called Rachel. "I'm coming over. We're finding his ghost." We spent the next 24 hours in her living room, a laptop between us, running on caffeine and dread. "What email would he use?" I asked. "He had his work one and his personal one," Rachel said. "Both are dead. The police checked." "No, a secret one," I said. "One he used to buy. Stuff he didn't want you to see." We tried for hours. David Miller and Y. Hiding Leo. Miller Brothers. Nothing. I was about to give up when I remembered the map. The circles. "Rachel," I said, "what was his first dog's name? The one we had as kids?" Toby? And the year he graduated high school?" 1996. I typed it in. Toby 1996 at a free email provider. The password reset question popped up. "What's your favorite childhood memory?" "Damn it," I said. Rachel looked at me. "What did you two always talk about? The fort?" "No," I said, my blood running cold. He always talked about the time we saved that baby deer from a coyote." I typed, "Saving the deer. Incorrect. What else?" "Wait," I said. We didn't save it. We scared the coyote off. He always called us the Miller Woodsman." I typed, "Miller Woodsman access granted." My hands were shaking so badly I could barely use the trackpad. The inbox was spam. Nothing. The sent folder. Nothing. The drafts folder. One email. Dated July 19th, 2015. The day they vanished. It was addressed to me. To my personal email. He never sent it. I clicked it. "Mark, if you're reading this, it means I'm offline. We're safe. I did it. I saved him. Rachel. She did a number on him. Poisoned his mind. She was going to take him, Mark. Take him and I'd never see him again. The courts are a joke. They're anti-father. A man has to protect his son. A man has to do what's right. I'm taking Leo somewhere they'll never find us. Where she'll never find us. We're going to live a real life. A simple life. Off the grid. He'll be happy. He'll be free. Don't come looking for me. Don't let her convince you. This is the only way. We're better off. You're the best brother a guy could ask for. Thank you for always believing in me. We're free. D." I read it aloud to Rachel. When I finished, the only sound was her, quietly weeping. He really thought he was the hero, I whispered. He was always the hero of his own story, she said. Wait, I said. There's another draft. I clicked it. It wasn't a letter. It was a list of links, classified ad websites, for rent-by-owner cabins in Clinton and Franklin County, New York, right near Plattsburgh, and one link, a specific ad. 3-bedroom cabin, remote, long-term rental, utilities included, cash preferred. I clicked the link. The ad was no longer available, but the address was right there. I called Detective Sanchez. We found him. The drive to upstate New York took 12 hours. Rachel and I drove in my truck. Detective Sanchez and another officer drove in an unmarked car behind us. The entire drive, Rachel and I barely spoke. What was there to say? We were driving toward a ghost. We were driving toward a 16-year-old boy. Was he alive? Was he okay? What does okay even mean after 8 years of that? We got to the town. It was tiny. A post office, a single gas station. We met with the local state troopers. They knew the address. That's Old Man Robert's place, the trooper said. He rents it out. Hasn't been seen in town in years. We just assumed it was empty. They made a plan. They would go first. They would secure the perimeter. Rachel and I were to wait at the end of the long, unpaved driveway. We parked. I turned off the engine. The silence of the woods was overwhelming. It was just like our woods, David's woods. We waited for what felt like a lifetime. 1 minute, 5, 10. I was staring at the trees, my heart trying to beat its way out of my chest. Then, a shout. A single male voice. "Police, don't move." Rachel grabbed my arm. Her nails dug into my skin. Then silence again. A terrible, heavy silence. I couldn't breathe. Another 10 minutes. My phone buzzed. It was Sanchez. "Mark, it's over. You and Rachel, you can come up. Walk slowly." I got out of the truck. My legs felt like concrete. Rachel was holding onto my jacket. We walked up the dirt road, 1,000 what-ifs playing in my head. We saw the cabin. It was small, run down. Brown paint peeling, a rusted-out propane tank by the side. 2 troopers were standing on the porch. The door was open. Detective Sanchez met us at the steps. Her face was grim. "He's in custody," she said. "He didn't resist." We stepped inside. The cabin was 1 room. It was squalid. Dirty dishes, unwashed clothes, conspiracy theory charts thumbtacked to the walls. And sitting at a small kitchen table in handcuffs was David. I almost didn't recognize him. The man from the selfie was gone. This man was gaunt, his hair long and matted. His eyes were bright, paranoid. He looked at me, and he smiled. "Mark," he said, his voice scratchy. "You found me. I knew you would. You always did." "David, what did you do?" I whispered. "I saved him, Mark. I saved my boy." "Where is he?" Rachel screamed, pushing past me. "David, where is my son?" "He's safe," David said, still smiling. "Safe from you." "In the back room," Sanchez said, nodding to a closed door. Rachel ran to it. She threw it open. And then she just stopped. I came up behind her. It was a small bedroom, a single mattress on the floor, a bookshelf full of old, tattered paperbacks. And standing by the window, staring out at the police cars, was a boy. A man. He was tall, taller than me, thin as a rail, with that same matted hair as David. He was wearing clothes that were too small for him. He turned, slowly. He had David's eyes, but they were empty. He looked terrified. "Leo?" Rachel whispered. The boy, Leo, just stared. He didn't know her. He had no idea who this woman was. "Mama?" he said, but he wasn't looking at Rachel. He was looking past her, at David. "Dad, who are these people?" Rachel let out a sound I will never, ever forget. It was the sound of a heart not just breaking, but being erased. She sank to her knees in the doorway. Leo didn't move. He just looked at his mother, the stranger, crying on the floor. It wasn't a reunion. It was an excavation. The police took David. He went peacefully. He was still telling me I'd understand as they put him in the car. Leo was harder. He was taken into state custody. He was, legally, a 16-year-old child. But he was a prisoner of war. David had spent 8 years homeschooling him, feeding him a steady diet of paranoia. That Rachel was a government agent. That the outside world was poison. That he, David, was his only protector. The shack, we learned, was the first 2 months. The transition, David called it. He'd kept Leo chained there while he secured the cabin. He'd told Leo it was to protect him from the monsters in the woods. The monsters were, of course, anyone who wasn't David. The resolution: it's not clean. There's no happy ending. David is in a psychiatric facility awaiting trial. He'll never get out. He doesn't even want to. He thinks the system got him. Leo is in a specialized therapy center. Rachel moved to New York to be near him. She sees him every day. For the first 2 months, he wouldn't speak to her. Now he lets her sit in the room. He's relearning everything. How to use a smartphone, what the internet is, who the president is. He's learning that his mother isn't a monster. He's learning that his father is. And me? I'm paying for that therapy. I sold the family property. I sold my house. I liquidated the Help Find David and Leo fund and gave every cent to Rachel for Leo's trust. I lost my brother twice. First to the mystery, and then, a second time, to the truth. I'm living in a small apartment now. Elizabeth. She calls me. We have coffee. It's slow. I'm a different man. The man she married was loyal to a fault. This new man, he's just trying to repair the fault lines. I went to visit Leo one time. Rachel invited me. I sat in that sterile room. He came in, looked at me. He remembered me, vaguely. "Your Uncle Mark," he said. His voice was flat. Yeah, Leo, I am. You were with him," he said. "Yes," I said. "I was. I believed him. And I was wrong. I'm so sorry, Leo." He just nodded. And then he sat down and started to read a book. And that was it. It's not forgiveness. It's not an ending. It's just the truth. I still have that selfie on my phone. The 2015 picture of a smiling man and a happy baby. I look at it, and I don't see my brother anymore. I see a predator. I see a victim. And I see the 8 years I wasted chasing the wrong one. What would you have done? When it's your own blood, your own brother, how long would you have held on to the lie? Subscribe if you believe every truth, no matter how awful, eventually surfaces.